You probably already know all the Marvel films, all the DC films, but maybe you don't know some of the more unusual superhero movies.
And these are our favorite odd or unusual superhero movies.
Alright, so we've broken this down. We each came up with 3. We haven't seen each other's list. If you see me looking down here, it's because I had to write notes so I didn't forget.
I had to do the same thing too.
Did you come up with 3?
I had immediately, like when we talked about this idea, this concept of the most unusual superhero movies, I can think of the first movie I thought of.
Okay.
I went to the theaters opening day to go see The Phantom.
Oh.
The Phantom, I have an affinity for it. It's great. It stars Billy Zane. He's the main villain in the movie Titanic. And when I found that out, that was the only reason why I have appreciation for the Titanic. Otherwise, that movie, Leonardo DiCaprio should have lived, but whatever.
I didn't make it more than 10 minutes through Titanic. I've never finished it.
I watched that movie the last weekend. It was #1, and the only reason why I know that is because the next weekend I saw Lost in Space, and that beat it. But The Phantom, it's a movie. It's an old comic strip. Then they did that. It became a cartoon series years later. I forget the name of the cartoon series, but Xander Drax. I always remembered it was the name of the villain of that movie. Treat Williams played that character.
Xander Drax.
What a great villain name, right? But he would get the Phantom would get his superpowers off the spirit of like animals, and so the Phantom he had to get these rings. He had this ring that he wore that allowed him to have that. One fun fact about this: it would pass down through generations of his family of the Phantom. And his dad was played by Patrick McGoohan, I think is how you say his name.
That's a good name too.
McGoohan.
Okay.
He was the prisoner in the TV series back in the 60s, British show that aired in the U.S. So great casting. Christy Swanson, Buffy, the original Buffy. She's the female lead in this. And, you know, why would you not want it? But it's got this whole vibe of like Indiana Jones. I think someone needs to remake that movie.
So I think I owned The Phantom on DVD, and I don't think I ever watched it.
Really?
I think I got it for Christmas one year.
No way, you would love
it. It was like, still sealed up, and I don't know why. Maybe it had one of those. Did it have a really lame cover art on it?
Yeah, it's like his face. He's in purple superhero suit.
Yep.
And he's just like serious.
Yeah.
There's like this classic scene where they're in an air. I don't know why this sticks with me forever. I don't smoke and I don't condone it, but there's this guy who smokes a cigar and he puffs it. And it's like the perfect O's that come out.
It's a skill,
it's
man.
Great.
Yeah.
So it's based in the 1930s is when this plays out. So it's like an Indiana Jones.
What is the movie? That was 90s?
95.
95. Okay. My first one also comes from the 90s, 1993, and I don't know why this stuck with me. I don't even know why. I think I owned it. The Meteor Man.
That's on my list.
So funny, man. I have very clear memories, not of the film itself, but of like being happy watching it.
Really?
Yeah, I remember laughing a lot. I've always had fond memories. So if you don't know about it, it's a pretty actually big cast, ensemble cast. Who was the
Robert Townsend was the lead, right?
Was the lead, but then it had Sinbad, Bill Cosby was in it, Eddie Griffin, Don Cheadle was in it.
Don Cheadle?
Yeah, in '93. So all right, the story is basically a meteor hits him. This is the generalization, and he gets all these powers, and it's X-ray vision and like laser vision, super strength, super speed. And there is one thing that has stuck with me ever since I watched this. It's this power where he can touch a book and it automatically absorbs everything in the book.
All the information.
So cool. I have thought for years that this is the power I would want, because then I could be like the brilliant, the Batman or Tony Stark, because I would have all that knowledge just by touching a book. I think one of the things though, see in my house, both our houses actually growing up, they were pretty strict about content, what we could watch and stuff.
It was PG.
Yeah. The Meteor Man was very wholesome. And even the whole vibe about the movie was very like good-natured. Mm-hmm. And I think that was maybe even a part of the reason that the critics didn't like it all that much, because it was almost more you'd almost classify this more as a family movie or kids movie than you would a superhero movie by current definition.
Well, completely. And there's a lot of kid gags in it. If I'm not mistaken, doesn't he lose his powers at the end?
Yeah, he does. He loses them, or does he give them up? I wanted to go back and watch it. I didn't. But
I remember trying to rewatch it. It is not as good as I thought it was.
Most of them seem to play out that way. Yeah. Okay, so that was fun. What do you got for your...
So does that take out like two of mine then? The Phantom, and Meteor Man was another one.
Oh yeah,
we want to give our favorite three.
Okay. Do you have any in the?
So you use mine.
Okay.
I got two out there now. What's your other one?
Okay, so other one is the Guyver. The Guyver from what was the year? 1991.
All I can say is I remember the art at the video rental store. I just know I was never allowed to watch it.
That was the best part. Let's be real. The rental stores. That's what I miss so much. Is choosing something based on the art on the cover that oftentimes was completely wrong or not not in the movie. So the Guyver was based on an old manga series, and I guess I've never read it, but my understanding from fans is that like it's very loosely based. Like I don't think it's super true to the story, but it's almost a Power Rangers vibe. So it's like an alien armor they get, and Mark Hamill is in it. This is why I ever first wanted, as a huge Star Wars fan, I'm like, oh, Mark Hamill's in this thing. He's not the Guyver though. The Guyver's name, it's funny because I don't even remember anything. Just hey, the Mark Hamill movie. That's Jack Armstrong. And the one thing that I had to look it up because the Guyver isn't exactly one I've revisited a lot. The effects were pretty cool, and the suit was pretty cool. So the alien tech and stuff. But that was mostly it. As far as story, there was like some clumsy humor and stuff where it almost felt like they weren't sure if they were trying to be funny or if they were trying to just be
This is action. Why I never watched this movie. Yeah. It sounds just boring.
It was Mark Hamill, man.
I get it. All right. This movie, this is my third one, which could be my first and foremost. Phantom, I had, held that there. I saw the Phantom in theaters. I saw Meteor Man in theaters. This one I didn't see in theaters because I think I was too young. Condor Man.
Oh.
Disney's first push to a superhero film, and it was basically a comic book artist who drew about a guy who would dress up like a condor, and then he could fight crime like James Bond. He had his own James Bond car that he would get into. He had his the suit though he would fly, and he was a super spy. It was played by Michael Crawford, coming off of when he did Phantom of the Opera. I think this was one time he actually had a real starring movie role. They put like $30 to $40 million into this budget and made 15. It was a box office tank.
Bad. But
go back. It's like a Disney. When Disney Plus needs to put this on there like ASAP. It's got great humor. It's so much better than you think. But like I'll never forget, you would rent a movie in the 80s or 70s and off a VHS tape, and it would show other films that would be coming out on the Disney VHS classics.
Oh yeah.
And it would always show Condor Man with the Condor Man. Had a great theme song, great soundtrack for it.
It really got itself into your brain there.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then what would be great is in the VHS video they'd show that image, and then they would have the villain say, "He's not a superhero. He's a comic book artist," or something like this.
Wait, what year was it? Did you
1980.
say
1980, I think, is when it came out. I was 79 when I was born, so I was too young to go see the movie.
Wow. So I've never seen Condor Man, but here's something funny. Since I've known Aaron, I think I've heard about Condor Man around once every 2 weeks. It comes up somehow.
So good.
So I'm going to have to watch it. All right, so that, just one more, and I wasn't sure. Honestly, I thought I would come up with a longer list than I did outside the normal stuff, so you have to grant a little leniency on this one because to me it still counted sort of as a superhero, but I wanted to go far away from all this stuff completely to do something a little different with it. It's called Dynamite Warrior. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make a justification why I think this is a hero film. So it's a Thai movie. So I love, I have a whole collection of martial arts films, and it's in that kind of realm.
Does it play out like the Power Ranger guys?
No, actually, so here's what makes him unique. So this would be kind of like a period piece kung fu film, or Thai, but the main character, let me here's the plot, ready? The bad guys are stealing water buffalo from the farmers. One guy, only the Thai films can do stuff like this. One guy is going to put an end to it, and he happens to be an expert at rockets. So not only does he know kung fu, or maybe it's Muay Thai, he decks himself out in all these rockets, like out of his sleeves and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
So he's shooting them like this, but the best part is it's not just little rockets, it's big ones. So there are these scenes where he has like a big old, like 4-foot rocket, and he stands on it, and it launches, and he's on the rocket, flying through the bad guys to take them out while he's like shooting little rockets at them. And it is just the cool. This was not, I mean, well, not as long as the other one. It was 2006, so it's not as old. But, I mean, come on. You take somebody that does martial arts and is a rocket expert and tell me that can't be a superhero.
Is it foreign language film then?
It is. I mean, there's dubbed or
sure.
subbed, but it is so absurd all the way through in the absolute best way. The way where you're watching and you're like, I don't even know what's going on anymore, and I love it.
Great. All right. Well, right now it's time to question everything.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Aaron. It's Steven from North Carolina. Just had a quick question for you. Just wondered if, how long have you both been doing radio?
All right, Steven, thank you. How long have we done radio? Well, I think I've done it longer as a profession. I know you did some in college and stuff. Do you know what year you first did radio stuff?
My thing in college, it was 2001. I remember it because of 9/11, but I remember sitting there, and it was at the college, and for radio purposes, I found that there was a few CDs. And all I listened to was Christian music. So I'm at this college radio station. They don't play any of that stuff. And they had a couple of these random artists. I wish I could remember some of the names. But I remember Sixpence and the Richard being in there. I was like, well, I don't put that one every hour. Anything I could find that was Christian, I'd play it in there.
Yeah.
Whenever I had to do it for the 2 hours, I was a part of it.
Did they have a big program, like a radio program?
I think nobody listened to it. It was called The Blaze.
Yeah.
Is what it was
no
called.
one listens to college radio. That's right.
Nobody did. It was an AM station. I think it was 970. And if The Blaze and 970 still there, all I can remember is it had the worst couch, and I'm sure there were many things that happened on that couch.
Didn't know that was coming in that answer, did you?
No.
So let's see. I did some radio before I went. I ended up going to school for broadcasting and stuff as well, but I did radio it was actually about 2001 where I started working weekends at a little station. And then after that, actually got married and went to school and interned and full-time. Well, so I've been doing radio then 19 years on and off. Full-time 13 or 14 years.
He's just a
I guess.
pup.
Just a little guy. That's it. Thanks for the question.
Yeah. Hey, look, if you want to subscribe, be sure to share this with your friends. You can subscribe somewhere down below. Subscribe to Matt and Aaron and the Joyride Ride. We appreciate you guys so much. But at the same time, hey, look, whatever you do, have a great and wonderful day. We're going to see you next time.